the people are going to several other places. Many of them, instead of going to past lives, are returning to God. Are they called the source? They're going back to where they all started from. They're going back to the beginning instead of going into other lives. And it's happening more and more. Other ones are going to lives when they were on other planets, on spaceships, or other dimensions, or when they were energy beings. And many of them have never been on Earth before. This is their first time. And a fascinating thing about this is all of them, even whenever they go back to the God source, when I say, well, why did you come? I know you're talking to somebody who's here. Why did you decide to come to Earth? Every one of them, even the ETs, whatever it is, will all say, we heard the call and we volunteered to come. Because this is what I've been told. Well, the ETs, they have been around forever. They've been taking care of us forever. So I've never found any negativity in this. Because they are the ones who seeded the planet Earth. They're the ones who created us. Just as Don Shorn was talking about, they've been taking care of us since the beginning of time. They have been here teaching us things through thousands and thousands of years. They are here to protect us. So they've been watching us all that time. So what happened was, whenever we had the atomic bomb explosions at the end of the 1940s and the beginning of the 50s, you remember there was a big influx of UFO activity at that time. They said it's because when we shot off the atomic bombs, it got their attention. Most of the time they're not here all the time. They come and go. But when this happened, the atomic bomb was shot off, they said, oh my gosh, what are those kids up to now? And so they are come to watch and find out, what are we playing with? And they were not happy because they said, these kids are fooling around with something they don't know how to handle, something that's totally beyond their ability to control. Because they know where we are. We can't even take care of ourselves. That they know we've been on this wheel of karma for generations and generations and generations, repeating the same karma over and over again. Instead of getting off of it and learning your lessons and going higher, we keep coming back to the same mess, the same people, again and again, because we haven't got it figured out. And the whole world is that way. And here we just finished a war. We were in the middle of violence. We hadn't learned anything yet. Now we go shooting off atomic bombs. They said if they can't even take care of themselves, how are they going to handle something like this? So they were really worried about it. So that's when they began monitoring us to see what we're going to be doing with this. And they don't like it. They're very unhappy with what we're doing. And they said, we have to change. We can't allow this to go on because we could get to the point where we could destroy the world with what we were doing. And they said they can't allow that to happen. Now, the divine directive is just like on Star Trek, that they cannot interfere. You cannot interfere with a developing civilization. It's a planet of free will. They must make their messes, they must make their mistakes, and they just stand back and shake their heads. But they can't interfere because we have been given permission to do whatever we want. But if it gets to the point that we're going to blow up the world, they said it would send reverberations out through space. We would disrupt other civilizations that we're not even aware of. Not only in our galaxy, in our solar system, our universe, but also in other dimensions. Because the vibrations would be tremendous. You know what happened with the asteroid belt exploded. I've written about that with the destruction of the air on Mars. And they said Earth was hit many, many times with that. It would have been worse, but Earth was on the other side of the sun whenever the explosion occurred. Otherwise, we would have had more damage to Earth. But they can't have this happening. It affects too many other planets and other civilizations that we don't even know about in the other dimensions. They said it's like undeclared war on innocent people. So if that were to happen, then they would have to step in and stop us. They don't want to wait to that point, though, to get to that part. So they said, okay, what are you going to do? We can't just come down and say, hey, guys, this is stupid. You've got to stop it. That's against the divine directive. You can't just come in and make anybody do what they should do. They have sense enough to do, but what they won't do. So they said they had meetings with the councils. What do we do now? This is a very dangerous situation. They came up with a plan, and I think it's ingenious, but they said, this one won't go against free will. We can't help from the outside. Why don't we help from the inside? That is not interference. So I said, what do you mean? They said, the call went out through the universes. Earth is in trouble. It needs help. Will you volunteer? Will you come and help? And all these people, when I speak to them, they said, we heard the call and we answered. And this means souls that have never been on Earth before. And I'm getting more and more and more of these. This is their first time. They don't know this consciously, but it is the first time they've been here. And you can imagine someone coming from the source of total love, but only coming because they want to help Earth. But look at the mess they're coming into. And it takes a lot of courage to come down here and want to be involved in this. And I've taken them through the birth experience, and they were saying, my gosh, I didn't know what I was getting into. Because they feel the heaviness, the denseness of Earth and the body. And then they feel all of these emotions that are so complicated because they've not been exposed to them. They said when they volunteered, they had the big meetings, and they told them this is what's going to be like. But they didn't really prepare them for what it was really like when they got down here. This is a challenging planet. It's a very difficult planet to live on. I said the other day, we come here to learn emotions and limitations, but can you imagine souls that have never been exposed to any of that? So some of the ones that are coming direct from the source are having a very difficult time. And the other ones, the ones that are the ETs, these are very gentle people too. They've never been exposed to the violence and all of the emotions that are here on Earth. They're coming for the first time. So they're all having trouble with it, but they're here to help us. That's the idea. Bring in souls that are pure, have never known the violence, have never accumulated the karma, to help Earth get out of this mess. Now the rest of us can help by getting rid of our karma, but we have more work to do. They're coming in to help this. I guess I should tell you about the 3 waves of the volunteers that I've found. Now I'm going to go into the New Earth, but I think these things are important, and I've found this over 30 years, and now it's speeding up, it's increasing. I think it's a clever plan, because they keep saying that we'll help you in spite of yourself from the inside. If you can get enough pure, innocent, good souls out there, they can counteract all of the negativity and the evil that's happening. It all goes back to love. Love is the strongest emotion there is, and that's what they're trying to install into all of us. So there's going to be a lot of confusion, but I found the 3 waves of people. The first ones are now in their 50s. If you read my book, Keepers of the Garden, that was my first exposure to one of these people. And it was the first time I'd ever had anyone go back to a lifetime where they were an alien. They were an ET. He said he had never lived on Earth before. And he told me what it was like on the other planets he lived on. And I'd never done it. And I'm sitting there thinking, what do I ask an alien? I didn't know where to go in that book because it was my first time to do it. And it was so difficult for him that he tried to commit suicide because it was like, I don't want to be here. I don't like the violence. Why are people so mean to each other? He couldn't understand it. And why are they always hurting each other? And it just didn't make sense. He said, this is not home. I want to go home. He didn't know where home was, but he knew it wasn't here. He had a wonderful family that loved him. He had a good job.